Join the Twitchiest community $500 cash giveaway, guys, by using the link in the description down below. One grand prize winner will win $500, and 3 second place winners will go away with a Monstercat Battle Pass. So check it out in the description down below, and the winners will be picked on June 30th. So stay tuned for the winners. Hello, everybody, and welcome to your Morrigan mid lane guide. Not just any Morrigan, the Morrigan. So you do have a couple of different starts potentially for Morrigan. I'm gonna go a more standard start here with the Sands of Time, just going into a little bit of our CDR here, and we're gonna get some big power items on Morrigan a little bit later to help with our assassinations. So I'm gonna grab the Sands of Time just to help out with this little early game clear. You actually have really good clear with your 2. So just getting it up a little bit more often means you get yourself a lot better clear. The other start that you can do is you can actually not grab a starter at all because you're intending on getting the Mannequin Scepter upgrade into the Hidden Blade. The Hidden Blade in the ultra late game on Morrigan is fan-flippin'-tabulous, but then you go through the early game without a starter. You can have a little bit harder time in the early game, you know. So you want to make sure that you're playing to your strength. If you're planning on kind of being a little AFK and farming, then you can go that Hidden Dagger route. It's also really fun, but in general, I would recommend just going ahead and grabbing that Sands of Time. Getting the CDR, it's also going to help a lot with our ultimate cooldown, because Morrigan's ultimate cooldown is thick. So getting some early CDR on that can be quite nice in order to help yourself out. So we're going to be starting with our 2. This is also the ability that we are going to be maxing out on Morrigan at first. This is going to be the ability that we use for our lane clear. It's going to be the ability that we use for our jungle clear everything. And it's also really good long-range PvP poke damage. So it's going to do damage initially, but then it also does a little bit of bonus damage on gods with a follow-up ability. So if you hit an enemy god with this ability and then another one of your teammates follows up, it's going to do a second proc of damage. If you use your 2 and then you use your 1, you're going to get this additional little bit of damage. Fun little fact with this, sometimes people will see like a Hercules driving strike go through somebody and Morrigan gets the kill, and it's like, how did she do that? It's because she had the 2 on the target, the Dark Omen, and so it actually went through and it procs that Morrigan damage. So that's how she is getting those kills. Even though she might not be near the target, because they might still have that omen on them. To level 2, we grab our 1. This is our stun. This is going to be our kind of ability that we use to assassinate the opponent. The one thing with Morrigan's 1 is that it is loud, and it has a pretty solid build-up time. So you have to keep these things in mind for when you're going in stealth with your 3 and you're trying to be sneaky. That ability, how loud it is, everybody can hear it on the enemy team too. So if you're walking right up to somebody and you press that, it's not so sneaky. A good player will recognize that audio cue and understand that you are close to them.
I like it.
So as a general rule, when you're going for those kills in stealth, make sure you get that popped as far away and as soon as possible, because you also don't want to be doing that channel. You see how I'm like waiting for the targeter? You have to wait until that targeter is up until you can actually use the ability. And so there's a lot of time for you to get interrupted. Then we're going to get our decoy at level 4 and our ultimate at level 5. So with your ultimate, you can set a default target. This means that if you're panicking, you don't have to go through the entire god wheel. You do that by clicking on the god that you're probably going to turn into, and then you right click on them and it'll put up their little picture right here. That's your default target. So now if I click my ultimate and I don't actually click any of the icons, I'm just gonna by default turn into Yanis. As a general rule, I would use this for one of two things. Either use it for the main target you're going to turn into, like what I'm gonna probably be turning into this game is a lot of Yanis, or use it for a defensive target. So that way, if you're panicking and you panicle, you can just make yourself turn into like an Arthur or something, or an Erlang this game, where I immediately turn into a tanky target. And then when I want to turn into the Yanis, I can just turn into him manually. You can use it either way, whatever's preferential to you, but either use it for your main target that you're going to be turning into most of the time, or just put it as a tankier target, so if you're getting ganked or something, you can really quickly turn into somebody without having to look through the wheel and stuff. So for the official level order there on Morrigan, it is going to be 4, 2, 1, 3. I'm gonna grab myself the power boots right here. Head back out, get to work on that Spear of Desolation. 4, because we're ranking up the ulti for the cooldown. We can get this cooldown actually down to a kind of reasonable time. But at first, we're talking multiple minutes of cooldown. Then our 2, because it's a wave clear. Then our 1 for the assassinations. Finally, our 3, which is going to rank up the amount of movement speed and the duration that the decoy lasts, which is nice. But you should be able to utilize the 3 seconds that you can stealth in order to get kills kind of without it. Looks like that's the beads down in the emoji. Start throwing out some deep wards right now. Quick tip with the decoy. As a general rule, you do not want to throw the decoy in the direction that you're running or ganking. So if I wanted to gank mid right now, right? I wouldn't decoy into the lane and let the decoy run that way. Because then, even if they don't know where I am in stealth, they know that I'm in stealth because they can see my decoy. You guys got a Yanis coming over.
Enemies incoming left.
So in general, you want to kind of decoy away. So right there, I decoy back towards the mid lane so I can walk up in stealth. I can get here. I can now turn into Yanis, finish off that kill on Emoja, portal myself right here through the wall. Gonna continue to follow up on this other Yanis with the ulti. Doesn't look like I'm gonna be able to get my next wave ability off in time. Now I'm gonna decoy back towards kind of their purple buff and then go back away. So the way that you are facing when you click your 3 is the way that you are going to actually send that decoy. So if I wanted to go walk to my red buff right now and I was scared, you would go boom, and you would decoy a different direction. Kind of just a little subversion. That way if they see you going somewhere, they're like, oh, they don't necessarily know where you are. Gonna go ahead and wait for this wave in mid really quick. Also, you do have the option, it doesn't happen very often, but you can sometimes bait people with the decoy. The decoy will always walk straight. So sometimes if your decoy is, the only time I would ever use this is if your decoy is down, but sometimes you can bait the decoy by like walking into a wall or something, and they'll be like, oh, it's a decoy. Like maybe they haven't hit you in a second and your decoy's down, you know you're gonna die. Sometimes you can like walk into a wall for a second, it'll make them go, oh crap, she used her decoy and I didn't realize it, and then buy you an extra little second to get away. Rare that that situation comes up, but it can be used when all else is lost. So for our standard Morrigan combination, it's actually not gonna be what you think. In a perfect world on Morrigan, you would always get your 2 off first, right? Because your 2 is going to do the damage and then have that potential bonus damage afterwards. In a perfect world, you would always want to get up that 2, because then you get the follow-up bonus damage on your 1. But a lot of times, you're going to be coming in for fights from stealth, and you're going to want to start off with your 1 because it is way too easy to avoid once people know that it's coming. So you have to actually utilize that stealth in order to put yourself in a prime position. So if we wanted to go gank somebody right here, I'd use my 3 and I pop my 1 immediately. The second that I'm in stealth, I pop that 1. It's not going to take you out of stealth. You get to sit there, because if I wait until the very end of my stealth, until I'm next to the target, and then I click my 1, I make that big old semi-truck loud sound effect that lets my opponent know, oh, I'm about to get ganked by a Morrigan. I should use an AoE CC ability. I should use a preemptive Aegis. I should put in whatever that stops you. So that means that actually our standard combination is usually gonna be decoying into somewhere, popping our 1 immediately, hitting them with the 1, auto-attacking, and then using our 2 and auto-attacking again if we need it. The reason why we throw that auto-attack in there is because we will be building a later game Polynomicon on Morrigan. So that way you have your 1 auto 2 combo with the poly, and that should be enough to kill the squishies. Another thing that I see on Yamoja is people trying to turn into so many different characters. There's nothing wrong with being like, okay, this character's gonna work good for me, this character's gonna work good for me, this character's gonna work good, and just having like a couple of different gods you want to turn into. At the end of the day, I'm probably not gonna turn into Medusa this game. Like, I could see myself turning into an Arthur or a Gilgamesh if I needed to be tanky, if I was really getting ganked. I could see myself turning maybe into a Yamoja if I needed the ulti to kind of trap him in. But for the most part, I'm probably gonna be turning myself into Yanis for the extra damage. Speaking of extra damage, Yanis all done. You should know, when you ulti into somebody on Morrigan, you get all of their stuff. What I mean by that is you get their actives, you get their like abilities, you get their items, all sorts of stuff like that. But there is one thing that doesn't actually change, and this highly impacts who you're gonna turn into, and that is going to be your skill order. So I have put all of my points into my 2, right? When I turn into another god, I'm gonna have all my points into that god's 2. So for the early stages of the game, Janice is a great character for me to turn into, because that means I've leveled up Unstable Vortex. This means that to maximize your utilization of Morrigan, you do need to know every god's kits and which ones you should be leveling first. So there's no reason for me to, trying to think of a good example. Thanatos is a good example. Thanatos and like Thor, you traditionally don't want to turn into early, because that means you've leveled up their wall and their passive pen, compared to having leveled up like their hammer or their scythe or something with the 1. So you do have to keep that in mind. At different levels of the game, different gods may be better for you, just depending on the skill points that you have in. The worst case scenario is a god that has a 3 that you really want to use, because you're going to be leveling up your decoy last. So something like a Fenrir with a brutalize can actually be really hard for you to like turn into, because your brutalize isn't going to have any points in it. You're going to have 1 point, it's barely going to do any damage. So that's pretty awkward. Yamoja actually kind of saved me there a little bit. Very nice of her. Could use my decoy for some of the movement speed to try to get out of here, but that's actually a really good Yamoja. Oh, get a little ward at top left, because I thought I saw some coming that way. Put another deep ward out here by their red buff. No, they actually already did that for me. Very nice. We're on the same page. So as far as our matchups go on Morrigan, in general, you're looking to pick Morrigan against squishy targets. Squishy targets is what you are looking for. So you're looking for the enemy team to be stacked on hunters, mages, assassins, obviously with some exceptions. Zhong Kui is kind of a disaster for you. Hades is kind of a disaster. You're looking for those squishier gods that are going to be building full damage, because if they're doing that, chances are you're going to be able to walk up and kind of one-shot them with your combo. What do we hate going against on Morrigan? Couple of things. We hate going against guys that have huge AoEs that don't really require any aiming, aka a Zhong Kui. He walks around in his ulti, slaps you right on out of stealth, kind of a nightmare. So anybody that's got a big constant AoE type ability tends to be problematic. Any god that's all sorts of AoE, Susano tends to be a problem because he has all these like massive AoE abilities that just kind of take you out of stealth. And of course, anybody that can reveal stealth is naturally a problem. So a god like Camazotz tends to do really well against Morrigan. They're going to be possibly coming through this portal, so I use my stealth right here. Looks like they're not coming through. They might have actually had that bottom right warded. Otherwise, I think Yanis probably would have come through. I'm gonna look for a little stun right there. Man, he's gonna portal away. It's a really good play there from the Yanis. Now I'm actually gonna come over for the Arthur. I don't want to ultimate quite yet if I don't have to. I would prefer to grab this kill and then turn into the Yanis so we can go ahead and ulti everybody right on out of here. So this time I was using these Yanis abilities defensively. We get the kill on the Arthur before we ulti, and then I can use that Yanis ult just to try to get everybody else out of dodge. I think probably our early lane could have gotten out if he would have been paying maybe a little bit more attention right there, but that's okay. So for our third item, we grabbed ourselves the Karen's Coin. Karen's Coin right now is the meta percentage penetration item regardless, but it's also great on Morrigan because this gives us a little bit of additional movement speed. Movement speed is quite nice on Morrigan. Back in the day when Doom Orb was a pretty good item, you used to get Doom Orb on her because you'd get that bonus movement speed from clearing the wave. And then that bonus movement speed means you've got just a little bit of extra oomph to try to reach people in stealth and kill them with your one. Gonna use my decoy right there under the wall. Just kind of see if there's a Yanis or somebody around. There is, but he's a little bit too far away for me to get to. A little bit too far away for the Athena to get to. So we're going to be taking ourselves into that Polynomicon. Next, that Polynomicon gonna give us that big oomph of damage, which is really when Morrigan starts to come online. Up until this point, Morrigan is still quite good, especially with proper utilization of the ult. But once you get that Poly online, that's really when she starts to kind of find her own. I'm gonna try to use my stealth actually defensively, get myself a little bit out of this. I'm gonna turn into that Yanis again. I'm gonna ulti right on through for the Dusa. Doesn't look like I'm gonna actually be able to hit him with that. Now I gotta be really careful. That's a big old level 16 Dusa. So I need to get myself out of that one. Our Erlang still wants to go in. I'm trying to stick around to help. That's so unfortunate. You accidentally just hit me in stealth with that, which means I'm probably gonna be dead. I would continue to go for me. So I'm gonna throw a decoy out into the jungle. Maybe Janice sees it and gets distracted. Other than that, I'm gonna keep on backing up. All right, continue to work on that Polynomicon. Start to back up. Gonna take another gander now at who is doing good on their team. Their Janice is still doing good. Their Camazotz is doing pretty good as well. He's not a bad target. Is anybody in our team doing super well? Nobody on our team is doing super well in terms of items. Remember, you're going to take over all the items of the player. So you want to be turning into somebody that's generically doing pretty good. The farther ahead the person you're turning into, the farther ahead that you're going to be for those 10 seconds. Do keep in mind there are a couple exceptions to this rule. I won't be able to list them all out, but there are certain characters that it's not necessarily advisable to turn into on Morrigan. Because of how their kits work, I'm gonna hit a couple of highlights. One, Kali tends to be a disaster because when you turn into Kali, it makes you pick your target. So it makes you stand still while you're picking your target the second after you turn into them, which is super awkward. Zhong Kui, when you turn into them, you don't have any passive stacks on your protections. Bakasura, you don't have any minions. King Arthur, you won't have any ultimate buildup. So there are negatives to turning into certain gods because that part doesn't actually transfer over from whatever stage they were at. I'm gonna go ahead and portal right on the feet where this Arthur is gonna come down, follow through with a little 2, and then I'm gonna use this ultimate, just turn around. Once again, use that kind of defensively to get me out of a hard situation. I'm gonna throw down another little portal there for my Medusa, just in case she needs it. A little sentry ward here on the Gold Fury. Camazotz is gonna try to run around, and we should be able to knock out the Gold Fury, no problemo. So you'll learn through playing Morrigan all the different interactions, but that's the kind of stuff you need to keep in mind when you are turning into targets. Like, oh, am I gonna have to build up a stack of something that's not gonna be naturally stacked for me?
Your right tower is under attack.
Stay out of
Freedom!
my life. Leave me alone.
Your team has destroyed a left enemy tower.
So after we finish this Polynomicon, we're of course going to be getting Rod of Tahuti. Rod of Tahuti, fantastic item for all mages right now, but of course, also Morrigan as well. Targets are low HP. We're going for that in-stealth assassination. A little bit of extra magical power oomph on that assassination can go a long way, particularly on those tankier targets. Now, as far as your target focus on Morrigan, you're trying to avoid the tanks as much as you can. So this game, I'm looking mostly at Janice. I'm also looking at Medusa, and then Camazotz, probably in that order, is my target focus. Morrigan is also really good at killing targets that are squirrely, those hard to finish targets, because she basically 100 to zeros. She doesn't have to worry about a lot of that nonsense. So now that I've got myself the Pendulum of the Ages and my Desolation, I've got 30% CDR, which is really nice on Morrigan. I think oftentimes CDR goes underutilized on her because people just go for that big one-shot combo, but being able to get back into stealth and going for those plays is really important. See that damage right there? If I didn't have a good amount of CDR, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So I'm gonna send out my decoy right there, but I'm actually gonna be going out into the side looking for the Yanis. I don't seem to find him right now. That's okay.
I don't care about the others.
But I can just decoy over and over again and continually be looking for opportunities, which is fantastic. Gotta do a little 1-2 auto attack right into him. Then a little threshold at my feet. We're gonna ulti right on through on the Arthur. Bada bing, bada boom. Portal right there, probably just for my Athena, so he can get through there. Little bonus movement speed with this threshold. I saw Medusa a little bit further this way. I'm gonna turn around, use my decoy, send it over towards Solo Lane so it doesn't accidentally see something. Found the Medusa, hit him with the 1, hit him with the Polyproc auto. He's got the bleed on him right now, which actually might be enough to get the kill, and it is going to be enough to go ahead and grab that kill. Last little thing that we didn't really talk about as far as Morrigan's kit is concerned, we should go to Fire Giant. It's about to spawn. Her third auto, if it's in a row, does have a sick mechanic on it.
We need wards.
Which is that it does bonus damage, 9% of the target's max HP. So if I go 1, 2, and then 3, the Fire Giant now has that massive bleed on it. So this is something that is that you have to kind of consciously use. If you use an ability in between your autos, it does interrupt it. it does interrupt it. So if I go like 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, and then I try to use, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not going to, you gotta do the old triple auto in order to get it to go off. So it has to be 1, 2, and then 3, and it is also a AoE auto attack. It has to be pretty close to the target that gets hit. But it is an AoE auto attack.
No.
So Kim was actually pretty close. I know that he jumped away and he's gonna try to back again. So I'm just gonna try to find him, see if I can't catch him off guard here. I don't want to commit any further to that, but I do want to kind of stay over in the jungle. So now that we're into the late game, we're going to be sitting out in the jungle, and this is kind of where you want to hang out in the late game as Morrigan. You're just kind of walking around the jungle, trying to find anybody looking for farm that's out too far or something like that. The actual Phoenix fights are a little hard for you. Phoenixes do see stealth within their range, but you can see like right there, Yanis beads down. He was just inside his Phoenix range. By the time you saw him, he was already too late. Bada bing, bada boom. Easy way to get a bead down. So I'm just kind of walking back and forth, just looking for a little stun here, a little stun there, just any opportunity to find some poke damage.
Attack left lane.
The Mojo walks right on up. Gonna be able to get a nice little poke on her as well. Yanis is coming over with his ultimate. I'm sitting back in the stealth. I'm gonna go ahead and try to get through onto this Yamoja and Yanis. There we go. Gonna try to portal him. See if I can't get him with that. I am gonna hit him with the portal. Follow up with the ultimate. That should be able to blast him right out of it. One more little portal on the floor. Go ahead and grab the Arthur. Use my decoy. Follow up with the... Oh, I'm going to follow up with the 2 actually on the Arthur now, which is going to give me some bonus damage from the other members of our team. And now I'm just going to use those poly procs for some bonus damage on the Phoenix. Meanwhile, I'm going to be looking back towards this Camazotz. Stun, 2. Got the poly proc auto. And now we can go for the Titan. We got 20 seconds left. We've got 5 of us. And the Titan is a bit of a pushover, which means we should kind of just be able to walk up and put it away. So your takeaways on Morrigan is you do gotta play kind of sneaky. Early game is not when you are your strongest, so you're just trying to kind of farm it up. Get to the mid game. It's really once you get that Polynomicon online is when you start to feel your phenomenal cosmic power. So I would kind of wait until that point, and then you just use that easy peasy 1 auto attack, 2 combo from stealth, and they're basically going to be dead. And if they're not dead, they're going to have to have used some sort of beads situation in order to take themselves out of it, which is a win in its own right, just forcing those actives and stuff. And then of course use that ultimate as either a getaway tool or a tanky tool. I like to turn into the tankier targets or the targets that can get away like a Yanis, so I can be both aggressive but also just like get myself right on out by just using a Yanis little guy. And that is our Morrigan mid lane. Thank you for supporting the Twitchiest community. If you'd like to see more videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel and always hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of the upcoming videos. Thank you for all your support and have a Twitchin' day, y'all.